The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you in part by Mays Sandwich Shop, serving delicious hometown favorites to the West Lawn community since 1947. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
Tangent. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show presents Tangents with Friends. Your source for pop culture, geek news, movies and television, anything else. But no sports. And now here are your hosts, Joe Mays and friends.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tangents with Friends. It has been a while since we've been on the show. I think almost 4 months since we talked Star Wars, Ghostbusters, all kinds of nerdy things that we really, really enjoy. But obviously, I'm not here by myself because I don't like to do these shows alone. So called in our co-hosts, our sitting guests here with me, as usual, Bryan and Brent Berenshausen. Guys,
Hey, all right.
Good to see you.
Watched the
Joseph.
college football game last night. Looking forward to talking about it.
yeah. Hey, for once, Bryan, we could have you on the Joe Mays and J-Raff show.
Yes, that's true.
I'm always looking to upgrade over Justin. So
That's not difficult.
Well,
So but I'm glad to have you guys here to talk another Star Wars streaming show. Our last show back at the end of July was about Obi-Wan Kenobi, which
it's just amazing to me just when I think about that was when the last Star Wars show ended, and here we are talking about another Star Wars show.
Well, how many Star Wars shows came out this year in 2022? Was it
at least three, right? Well, and really,
the cartoon.
Okay. I guess I was thinking live action.
Okay.
Yeah, but still.
But but Book of Boba Fett lingered into the new year.
It did,
right?
Yeah. So
yes.
Book of Boba Fett, and then Tales, and then
Obi-Wan,
and
then
now
Andor.
Andor.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
And we got Bad Batch season 2
coming up,
literally the first week of the new year.
Yep.
And then a couple months later, we'll get Mandalorian season 3,
and
then later that year, next year, we'll get Ahsoka.
Amazing, yeah.
It's
awesome.
It's Fast and Furious.
Good time to be a fan.
It is.
It really is. Yep.
And we're gonna talk about Andor, which back when Disney Plus was announced and all the Star Wars shows were announced, this was the one that jumped out to me as being my most anticipated, just from a personal, because I love Rogue One.
Right.
Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. I adore it, and learning more about Cassian Andor and that character was very intriguing to me. Now, we had to wait a little longer than I thought we were going to get this, but we also already know there's going to be a season 2. So they were able to go into this season 1 knowing...
After the end of this, I hope there's going to be a season 2, because it better be.
There wasn't like a real conclusion
No.
to anything.
Really?
No.
But actually, I believe in the next few days they're starting to film season 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it is not
So that won't come out to 2024? Then?
probably
Yeah.
2020. I'm guessing fall 2024.
Quite a
so
while
we're
for
about
that.
2 years away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we certainly, like we just said, we're not lacking for Star Wars
Content
on the small screen. We're not getting it on the big screen anytime soon.
At least not that they've announced yet. There's a lot of rumors happening about a 5-year plan, but I don't really know how much of that is actually legitimate.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of upheaval going on at Disney. I think surprisingly, I mean, it's probably for the better, but I still, not sure what's going
I
on
don't
with the
know.
House of
Yeah.
Mouse. So,
Mhm.
but we know that Lucasfilm's still chugging along. I enjoyed Tales of the Jedi. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was a good entry.
Did not
Those
watch it. I'm saving
animated
that for Christmas
shorts.
break.
Well, you will
Oh,
enjoy it.
It's
Now,
great. It is
you-
really good.
Brian, how far along into the Clone Wars and Rebels are you?
4 episodes.
Total.
I've not watched any Rebels, and I've watched 4 episodes of the Clone Wars.
Okay.
5 episodes, maybe. I have to check.
Honestly, you might want to wait on Tales. You might want to wait
Well,
on Tales.
I don't know about that because like I watched Tales and I was like, you could probably not watch any of the other stuff.
I feel like at least the Anakin Ahsoka stuff would be more
Anakin Ahsoka stuff
impactful.
is more emotionally impactful if you have a background
Yeah.
with those
Well,
characters.
Joe, you sent me a watch list of like minimum viable viewing to get
Yes.
to Bad Batch.
Yes.
And so I figured I would at least
That
do
would be a good place to start.
Do
yeah.
that and then watch Bad Batch because I have access to Bad Batch, and then I will be ready for the next season in the beginning of the year, right? So
Yeah, that is probably your best bet there. And like Brent said, Tales of the Jedi isn't exclusive to having to watch the previous animated shows. I do think you'd feel a little bit more if you saw the
Sure,
Clone Wars,
sure.
but especially the early episodes in Tales of the Jedi are, those can be watched by anyone
Well,
that
it's
has
definitely-
Star Wars knowledge.
Absolutely more standalone in a lot of ways because it had a lot about to do with Dooku and all that stuff. And I think what it is going to show is that there could be a lot more shows. There could be a lot more episodes or seasons of Tales of the Jedi too. That could be.
I hope they
Yeah.
are. I thought they were very well done.
Yeah, amazing. I mean,
the
it
other
was
one I
probably-
really want to watch is the Visions. I didn't get to watch Visions.
I haven't seen Visions
Yeah.
either.
And I'm
Visions
really
is
excited because
weird.
I love anime, and so I'm very excited to watch it. It just other things keep putting out more stuff, and it's
know.
like I can't. Then they keep putting out shows about how they made the shows.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
well, I gotta watch that too.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched the making of Kenobi.
I haven't
It's
watched
great.
it.
It's probably, in my opinion, it's the best one.
Okay.
Yeah, the making of Kenobi is really good.
Yeah, I haven't. I shouldn't say I haven't finished it. I started it. I just didn't get to finish it, and I never finished. Kelly and I started watching the not the Lucasfilm, the animation.
Light and Magic.
Light and Magic. Yeah, I didn't. I think there's 7 or 8 episodes of that. I think I
Yeah.
saw like 5 of them so far.
Oh, that was good.
That wasn't just Star Wars related. It was by and large mostly Star Wars related. But they eventually talk about other things. They talk about Ghostbusters. They
Yeah.
talk about Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was a cool show so far.
That show, I remember I got home. That's the day I got home from like the shore on vacation, and
yeah, it was over the summer. Right?
I was like, I literally watched the whole thing in one sitting. I was like, I'll just watch like the first part of this.
you
or
watched
whatever.
like 8 hours of.
I
time.
literally watched. I was glued to it. It was fantastic, and there were some good interviews with
Well, they talked to George.
George Lucas in that. So yeah, it's pretty. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Really well done.
But I'm a sucker for a good documentary. So
right.
that was kind of hitting me on all the spots. So
Well, before we dive into our Andor recap and review, we're 1 year removed from Ghostbusters Afterlife. I almost said Star Wars Afterlife.
To the
Ghostbusters
day,
Afterlife.
apparently.
Um,
A
Yeah,
year ago
right.
today, we were
a year
doing.
ago we did a podcast.
So, we watched the movie about a week ago. A week ago. It was November 20th, I think, is when we reserved a theater and had 30 friends and family to watch
amazing.
it, which was
Yep.
awesome.
Yep, it was
Because
awesome.
people were willing to go and see it, especially ones in my family that are not very familiar with Ghostbusters. They jumped at the chance, and everyone really liked the movie.
Well,
so-
because we had a theater all to ourselves, so it's an amazing experience, and most of us hadn't been to a theater in over a year.
Yeah.
So, it's like,
for me,
literally.
it was
Yeah.
it was another opportunity to get your family together and do something.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. It was a lot of fun. And I know the Yes Have Some podcast had been reminiscing this past month about the 1 year anniversary of Afterlife. And how are we feeling about the movie a year past?
Still love it. I just talked to somebody who saw it for the first time 2 weeks ago. He was on a plane and he watched it and he loved it. He said, I like the first half better than the second half because he felt like the second half was more, in his opinion, the second half was more rehashy and it was more rushed, but he loved the direction they were going, the way they set everything up with the first half of the movie. And I could see that. I could see that as a criticism. He's an 80s movies fan. He's not necessarily a straight Ghostbusters fan, but yeah, So I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to dive into my nitpicks with it because
Yeah.
I adore it.
Yeah.
I remember we've talked about this coming out of the showing I went to on the premiere with Brent. I was a little uneven about it, but then I feel like there was so much emotion attached to
Yeah.
30 years
So
of
much
build
Yeah,
up.
anxiety
it's
to
very
go into
difficult to have like I'm not the person to ask for an objective view of that movie, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, when we went as that group and I watched it, it hit me then
Yeah.
how much I liked it.
Mhm.
And what has helped solidify my admiration of the movie is everyone I've shown it to that hasn't been a Ghostbusters fan,
Mhm.
big or small or at all, have all really liked it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
nice to see people enjoy it that really have no skin in the game.
Right.
You know,
Mhm. Yep.
that
Yep.
the
Yep.
the three of us have been lifelong fans, but to see other people enjoy it
Right.
that don't have much exposure to the franchise has been
Yeah.
amazing.
And what's great about that is that's the reason I like that the most is that it sets us up for getting more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's-
Like
yes.
the fact that the masses have enjoyed it
Mhm.
and
Yep.
it's been, by fans and critics somewhat, I feel like it's setting us up for a new cartoon, which I haven't heard anything about.
Yeah,
which,
I was going to ask you if you had. I have
Recently.
not heard anything
No,
about the new.
nothing new.
Nothing.
No.
Yep.
that's going to be a Netflix show.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we're getting obviously a sequel to Afterlife. so-
Right. Well, and Afterlife seems to be sort of the Force Awakens of
I
Ghostbusters.
think, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It
And
had
it'll
to be. It had to be a little rehashing. It had to be a little more mainstream
Right,
because
you-
it had to get everybody back.
You
on
had to
board.
serve as closure for our generation,
Right.
but then you had to set it up for the future.
For sure.
Right.
Right.
And they seem to have done that. Everyone seems to love the new cast.
Mhm.
All the young actors
Yep.
that they picked knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Very well done. I would like to see everyone back for this next one. And we're not going to get Bill Murray. He's not going
Yeah.
to do it
No,
again.
that's fine. I mean, he had a
but
great send off. I think that's,
Ernie Hudson's being set up as the Godfather of Ghostbusters.
Right. He's going to be
kind
the
of
CEO of Ghostbusters Inc.
He's
I think
taking the mantle from Dan Aykroyd because I think we'll still see Ray Stantz.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. for
But
sure.
I think they're really going to focus on Ernie's Winston.
Right.
Like you said, kind of overseeing everything,
Mhm.
which I'm all here for.
Yeah, yeah,
Brent and I have met Ernie
Yeah.
a few times. It's funny to look back, Brent, 12 years ago when we were meeting him, how I don't want to say he wasn't a big star. I feel like his star's always been the same, but at the conventions we met him at, we stood there and talked to him for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, and he was so that was such a I don't want to say the dark time of Ghostbusters because it wasn't really. There was comics and there was collectibles and
Yeah.
games.
No
and
live
stuff.
action.
It wasn't like
Like-
mid '90s where it was like
Right.
total black
we
hole.
had been how many years removed from 1989 Ghostbusters? Like
Right.
he was still holding on to a lot
Yeah,
of that
this was
stuff.
20 years later.
But now we're and Jason Reitman said he is the Tony Stark of
Yeah,
the franchise.
Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
description.
He
Uh-huh.
literally said those words
Yeah.
in an interview. So like that's awesome. He's gonna
Yeah.
play a major role moving
And
forward.
he still brings it, he still brings it to every
Yep.
shot, every scene, and he's just the perfect charismatic character. Ray will still be a part of it, but he's not the guy to play that role.
No.
He's not like
No.
the character is not the guy to play that role. Ray will be there, and he'll be like the guy who's in R&D who pops up every once in a while with new
Right.
stuff or new
Perfect
lore.
role for him too.
He'll be in the archives. He'll be in his store, which of course Winston is also bankrolling. That's perfect for him. That's
Yeah,
but Winston
'cause
needs
he-
to be the centerpiece. He's
But-
the most industrious, pragmatic one.
For sure. I could see Ray being the tech guy and the guy that does the research on the paranormal.
Yeah, he's
and
more of
stuff
the
like that.
lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think they're setting up Trevor to kind of take over the mechanical, like
Yeah.
be the new Ray,
Mhm,
sort of
mhm.
like the guy who's tinkering all the time.
Yeah,
Right,
and,
right, right.
and Phoebe
'Cause
too. Like
Phoebe's the Egon, and I think she's kind of more of the experimental, whereas Trevor's more
Yeah.
of the here and now mechanical, physical. Like
And that's-
he'll work
yeah.
on the ecto,
and that's what I'd love to see going forward. Like nothing like Ray knows the theory, but like he can never get it to work. 'Cause,
right.
like
There's
Egon,
no
like
practical
Egon,
application.
like Egon could like get it to work,
Yeah.
and like that's what Phoebe's being set up to do. Like when she had to fix the proton pack, like I would love that Egon's presence is still there, and the fact that things don't stick together like they used to. Like he can't get it to work. Yeah, I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and it just got a new video game too.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
the franchise is alive and well, which
Yep.
is excellent, and very much looking forward to Codename Firehouse right now. Supposed to
it's
come out in 13 months. Yeah, I don't know that they're gonna hit that, but
when are they gonna start filming?
they
That's the
would
question.
have to start almost immediately,
Yeah.
and there's been no word on that, no new casting stuff. No one's been called back to start anything, so I'm thinking that's gonna get bumped. I would like to see it get bumped by 6 months because if they do that and release in June 2024, that is the 40th anniversary of the original
one. Yeah.
So, they actually pushed it. They wanted to do July. I wish they would go do June, but they'll do summer 2024. But that would be my guess is they'll have to push it at least 6 months. It could get pushed a year, but December has become such a hotly contested month for movies. I wonder if they want to stick there.
Stick to it.
But we'll see. I'd go see Ghostbusters over anything else, especially like the fourth Avatar sequel or whatever is scheduled to come out then. But I guess to see Avatar sequel, I'd have to see Avatar. And I've never seen Avatar, much to Greg's dismay.
I've never seen it either.
Greg's always like, "You gotta watch it."
All right, so let's go back to a galaxy far, far away and
All right.
talk Andor. Now, we mentioned at the top when Disney Plus was announced, Andor was one said that, hey, this show is coming. We're going to revisit Cassian Andor, but it's going to be a prequel. It's obviously because it can't be a sequel to Rogue One. So we're going to go years before.
Yep.
And eventually it came out that we're journeying 5 years before for this initial season of the show. It took a while for us to get it. We got it. 12 episodes, which was nice. We had, 10 weeks, I guess, of releases because the first 3 came out together. And then we had 9 more weeks of individual drops.
Right.
I feel like maybe that's where we should start because the season was definitely set up to be almost like mini movies. So I'm glad they released the first 3 together because that was one cohesive storyline.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they would have released the next 3 together.
Yes, it was hard to hang on from week to week. I really, if I had my druthers, I would have rewatched last week's episode, the previous week's episode, before watching every episode of that week. But I just didn't have that kind of time, and so I know there were details that I missed or forgot. So I'm really looking forward to, now that it's all out, being able to watch it all from the beginning.
Yeah.
On my own time in my own way. I'm looking forward to that. I'll watch it again for sure.
So I think the way it's set up, we had the intro 3 episodes, then we had the Aldani 3 episodes with the heist. Then was there one standalone, like, that merged storylines? Because then we had 3 at the prison, right? Was it 3, 3, 1,
one
3?
Then led up to the finale.
There might have been one in there. I have to check.
And I know the end was a duology, so that's what I'm thinking. 3, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I can look at the list here of all the episodes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how it worked, but I
Plus
felt like if they were going to do these like almost mini arcs inside of a larger season, those should have been released
Pushed
at
out
the same
together.
time.
Yeah,
Instead of doing 10 weeks, they should have done like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Do the 3 episodes together. I feel like it would have cut down on the little bit of criticism the show got, is that it's so very character focused, not heavy on the action, and very little until maybe the end Star Wars to it. It was tough to get people to stay connected that were there for action in Star Wars.
Yeah, you're used to the iconography of like blasters and droids and ships, and you get little tastes of that. And when you get those things in the show, you're like, whoa.
Like the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, I know,
My theory is that as we get closer to
Rogue
One,
I think
we're
that's
going
what
to
it's
start
building.
seeing more of that stuff because we're getting deeper into the Empire. We're getting deeper into the Rebellion. Like we've seen a couple X-Wings, but those X-Wings have been stationary with Saul Guerrera, like in his
they
little
were in his
bungalow
little
area thing there.
Yeah,
so,
the partisan X-Wing.
Did not
did
not see him in the last episode. I really thought he was in the
He was
penultimate
in,
episode.
2 episodes of the season? 2 or 3?
2, yeah. And he looked great. I mean, and his eyes healed, so that
he didn't have the breathing mask.
He didn't have the breathing mask, so that all has
we
to
know
be developed.
that all happens in the 5-year lead up to Rogue One.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yep. Yeah, so the episode that we're maybe missing was episode 7, which is called The Announcement. The repercussions of Aldani.
Okay, yeah, so
that's
all
the way to
standalone.
Coruscant.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love those ones with the Empire's bureaucracy and the angling.
People complaining about that. It's probably the same.
Well,
people
then don't watch the show. If you don't like it, don't watch the show.
Yeah.
Same people that complain about the politics in the prequels are complaining about the politics in Andor.
That's why I'm here for the politics, and I love that Star Wars political stuff. I love that story, and I was very excited for this show because I knew that's what it was going to be. Mon Mothma was going to be a centerpiece.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable. Like inside the Empire senatorial drama was great. I love that stuff. That's what I love about the prequels, and I was happy to have it here.
If there was one word to describe the show, if I would choose one, it would be tense. I just felt like everything was so tense. That I just felt like everyone was wound so tight, ready to explode.
Yep.
And those white wall meetings with the Imperial Security Bureau were my favorite part.
They were great.
That old guy in charge.
Oh man, he was
fantastic.
He was great.
The way he carried himself.
I feel like that's, you said it, some of it doesn't feel as much as Star Wars, and this is kind of a backhanded compliment, but I feel one of the reasons it doesn't always feel like Star Wars is the acting is so good. Like, I mean, Star Wars is not known for its acting, right?
Yeah.
And these shows have been some of the best acting I think we've gotten in Star Wars.
I think bar none, this show had the best
acting. But this
acting.
show,
you had to, because it was character driven and not action driven, so you had to sell it.
100%. Yeah, exactly. You needed to have those actors that a bunch of them, I guess, have like stage backgrounds and stuff like that. But make it that part of it, because it is so intense, right? And tense and so forth.
Right.
So knowing that how character focus this was, maybe let's start there as an introduction. What was your favorite character from this first season of Andor? Who stood out to you, big or small? Who really stood out?
Yeah.
Who was your favorite?
Man, I don't even think it was Cassian.
No,
that's another kind of nitpick people have said. Like, this is supposed to be his show, and he felt almost like a background character.
I was thinking that as I was watching the last episode, because I was like, this is the last episode of a series named Andor, and Andor's hardly in it. Yeah. You know, like, and that was great. I mean, but it was. Oh, man,
it didn't bother me though.
Hard. That's so difficult.
I actually, in my opinion, you learned so much about Mon Mothma in this series.
Excellent.
You really
Genevieve O'Reilly was fantastic.
And talk about a background character now becoming a front main character. Like, you just see her, first time you ever see her is in Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes.
In terms
and she has like 2 lines.
Release order, right? Yeah. And like,
many buttons died
to bring us
this information.
And you can tell she's an important character in the rebellion, person, in the rebellion. But like but here you learn so much about what she personally has sacrificed in her family and so forth to get the rebellion kind of jump started and moving, and it's really interesting stuff from her family and perspective.
Yeah.
So I think maybe she would be my choice, even though maybe that's a cheap answer considering she's the one familiar character that we see come into this episode, into this season.
He was the one that I anticipated the most and was most excited for, and that totally, like, for me, did not disappoint in any fashion, and still is like because her story is the story I was most interested in, which is the story of inside the now sort of shell of a Senate. What is the role of a Senate in an empire, right? That is, what is, and her kind of helping to foment the rebellion and stuff. Like, I was most interested in her story and how it was going to connect. So that was, but I also feel like the character I was most happy to see every time he was on screen was the new droid, and I forget his
B2 Emo. He was fantastic. Yeah, that was really good. I wish he had more time.
Where are you going? Like, I was like,
the stutter,
the stutter.
Did you hear the rumor about him that possibly that people are saying is that his whatever hard drive gets injected into K2SO?
Awesome.
That his personality will be.
I thought that K2 was going to be the post credits.
So did I. So when you messaged that there was a mid credit scene, I was like,
there's a mid credits.
Well, I guess it's technically post credit. That Disney Plus has so many credits.
Because then it shows all the translator things.
Yeah,
I was like, I didn't watch all of it.
No, it's a post credit scene for the North American release.
Got it. And then after that
for the wide,
the
worldwide,
release,
the international.
global.
So So that scene's cool. I like that you understand now the manufacturing process.
That was cool. That was a cool nod. That was a cool nod.
I was hoping it would be K2. So we know we already saw that droid, not him specific, but that droid in this series, which led him to end up on Narkina 5 on the prison, the planet that has all those prisons that are forced labor.
Yep.
That brings me to one of my favorite characters. And it wasn't across the entire show. It was limited to just those 3 episodes. But Andy Serkis as Kino Loy,
so good.
He was fantastic.
I know. Yeah, he
so
was great.
It was nice to have Andy in there to be someone other than motion capture and voiceover. Because obviously we know he did Snoke, but
yeah. Oh, he did. He did Snoke.
He was the voice of Snoke. Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't know.
And motion capture. Yeah.
I mean, I know him from Planet of the Apes.
and Gollum, obviously. That's the big one.
Yeah.
That kind of made him a household name, but having him there in person was fantastic. And he's also, he had been in Marvel, so there's familiarity there, but his role as Kino Loy was fantastic. And then we're left to not knowing whether he survives or not. So
he can't swim.
He can't swim.
Right.
So I'm hoping someone helped him and he got out of there. I would love to see him make an appearance in season 2.
That would be
great. But in terms of characters that have a direct impact on the story throughout the whole season, I feel like my favorite was probably Luthen. And that might be a simple answer, but he was a new character, so that was nice because I could pick Mon Mothma because Genevieve O'Reilly's portrayal of her was just incredible. Especially with the emotional tugs on your heart because she's in a crappy dead-end relationship with this, I'm assuming they kind of were saying it was a prearranged thing.
Seems like it, yeah.
So,
which is why it's so tragic.
He was such a rat. Like, he was,
I know,
like, excellent acting.
He was
but
great.
The character,
But
then also the stuff with her daughter, which I didn't, we didn't even know she was married. We didn't know she had a daughter.
Right.
So we're seeing all those things come up, and the way she did those scenes with her family and especially with her daughter, just great. But Luthen has just proven to be such a fascinating character. Obviously has a lot to do with the beginning of this rebellion, or the formation of the rebellion, because they're trying to eventually merge all these cells together.
That was my favorite part. Again, like, I love the politic part. So it's called the Rebel Alliance, and what it is it's an alliance of all these factions, all these factions of rebellion that they're trying to bring together. And I love when Guerrera's like grilling him, like, are you a member of so-and-so? You remember, like, he's grilling with all those different...
He just lists everyone off.
And I was like, well, you just set up the next, 6 books.
Yeah.
Like, because there's going to be a book series now about every one of those factions.
Well, we need to know more about Krieger.
We
only saw a hologram, and we know that he died.
And he died, right. And yes, exactly. And that, well, I'll get to that later, but it's just about how much everybody has to give up for this thing. Like, that's the thing that you really get from this series, too, is how much everybody has to sacrifice, and no matter where you are, what your station is, and how everybody's sacrifice looks different. But I
also think too that he's a great character. First of all, the acting's phenomenal.
Yeah, with, Skarsgård.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And
Bootstrap Bill.
And but he also is a very interesting character because you really don't know. I think there's a lot you don't know about him.
I still don't think we know enough about him.
There's a lot of rumors that he's a Jedi.
Yeah,
there's a lot of rumors out there.
Yeah, I thought that again there'd be some payoff in the last episode where you'd find out what the heck he's doing.
Yeah,
why? What's his at stake for him?
What is his motive? Yeah,
I'm thankful that he wasn't a one season and done character.
Yeah,
because a lot of times when you get these character focused series, not even necessarily in Star Wars, each season will have like one new character that's there the whole time, but then they're killed off at the end. And I was afraid that that's what was going to happen to Luthen. I didn't want to see that. And as the last few episodes went along, I was like, they can't kill him off. He hasn't finished what he meant to do. And Cassian could have taken over that role, but I'm glad it appears that Luthen is back in season 2.
And in this case, they killed off Cassian's mom, right? Which makes
she was another one of my favorites.
The acting was great again.
Her monologue.
Right. Well, again, that was a very Luke Skywalker episode 8 kind of thing, right? She comes back as a hologram, kind of saves the day, motivates the rebellion towards victory.
People were very bummed when she dies off screen. They set the stage for her being sick in those middle episodes, but then you get there and she's gone. And you get the emotion from B2.
B2, yeah.
And I don't I forget the other guy's
The
name.
other guy's name, yeah, who's like Bix's boyfriend or whatever.
No. Bix's boyfriend died early at the beginning.
Sorry. This is the other guy.
That was Tim.
What?
Right?
Yeah, Tim. Yeah, I forgot that Star Wars name.
That really classic Star Wars name, Tim.
But yeah, I can't remember what the other guy's name is.
I
he
know
was
you're talking
was
about
really good. I'm glad that he lasted throughout the season as well. And Bix fantastic, especially after she was
Her acting
subjected to listening to children dying. And the way that the makeup and just her character after being subjected to that, just crazy. But really well done. But yeah, so Marva passes away off screen, and people were really bummed they didn't get to see. And I can't remember the actor's name. Fiona Shaw. Is that it? Fiona Shaw?
Maybe.
I think.
Yeah.
Really well respected actor. Very, very.
I know
well
her
done.
from something else. I
know. Same here. She was great in the episodes where she was there in alive in person.
Yep.
But people were bummed, like, oh, we didn't get to see her have a deathbed confessional type or motivational factor.
Right. Well,
guess what? Get to the season finale and they're doing her funeral, which also really cool lore to add that you become a brick in the city, like that.
I love that.
Which is then used to beat on Imperials.
Right.
Yeah. But so she's in this like multi-minute hologram motivational speech that just ends up inciting the entire village to attack and defend themselves and fight for freedom. When this is, I mean, that's, you could probably point to, that's the seminal moment of the rebellion actions against the Empire. Everything else had just been almost more off-world or little things. You got the Aldani Heights, but that was done in darkness, and it didn't get out until later, and it got it poked the Empire enough to institute these things, which is what Luthen wanted anyway. They fell for it. But this is the first time you see an uprising.
Right.
And it's instigated by Marva's hologram speech at her funeral, which
was awesome.
Excellent done. That whole scene set, and I sent you the drum gif when you said you were watching it.
It was so tense.
Awesome. Just fantastic. It just reminded me of the images you see, or really the portraits you see from like the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, where they would have a band like just playing pipe and drums, like walking out.
Yeah, and it was cool to see like these brass instruments, but they had like these weird bells to them, so they're very Star Wars up,
it was very cool. I was like those are just like
the
normal band orchestra instruments
like a
that
with just a bunch of extra stuff.
They just Star Wars version of the instruments.
And the guy hitting the anvil was just like so ominous all the time.
When they sent the troopers up to like take him out, I was like, they're gonna shoot him in the back.
Yeah.
But no, he heard the trooper come up and he just whacks him.
Yep.
How I thought for a second they were gonna completely jump into a love relationship at the end there between Cyril and
the woman Imperial.
I want Deidre.
Deidre.
Again, tense. Like it was
very
entire like there was just some tension there.
Yeah.
And you could kind of feel it earlier when they were having their discussions, but it was much more professional in nature.
Right.
Everything's about him finding Cassian and her trying to figure out what's going on with the Rebel Alliance, because she's right. We all know she's right.
Right.
But the Imperial, they're all fat and satisfied. They don't want to listen to anyone.
Well, that and they're more interested in appeasing the Emperor than they are in building an empire.
Yeah.
She and what was his name?
Cyril.
They I think are more loyal to the Empire than they are the Emperor, right? They believe in the Empire, and they believe in order, and they believe in control, and they believe in the power of bureaucracy. And so like the other folks are really just, they're making decisions based on what the Empire or what the Emperor wants, right? But that's not, they are loyal to the idea of the Empire, and so they probably love the Empire more than the Emperor does.
Were you guys surprised we didn't see or hear the Emperor?
Yes, very much so. Yeah,
I thought we'd at least get a hologram. I mean, they put him in all that garb for Obi-Wan. I thought they'd say like, okay, let's just film this stuff.
Didn't Ian McDiarmid say he did something else though?
I think that
was for Tales.
That was for Obi-Wan.
Or retort. Well, I thought he said that he didn't put on the stuff for just one episode. I thought he said something like that. But maybe he recorded those lines for Tales, right?
And maybe he recorded something for season 2.
Or season 2 is just getting underway. But I'm wondering, could we see something, a flashback or a flash forward for Ahsoka? Because I know that's in the timeline where he's dead.
Yeah.
But
right.
could there be Clone Wars flashbacks? Could we see Chancellor Palpatine?
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know,
They'd have to
maybe
DH him somehow, but
I just thought maybe he had recorded something for Andor. I thought that's what we were gonna get, and he gets name dropped, but we don't ever hear or see him in any way. No Vader mentions at all. Nothing about that.
Nope.
Very little trooper action, which is that was tough. I thought we got it at the end. It was cool to see the shore troopers on that
cool to see some
beach planet.
There were some clone troopers in there too, and
got the flashback.
Troopers in a flashback.
Yeah, man.
But I like the fact that the troopers were there in almost every episode on Ferrix, but they were there as a presence, and that's what created the tension.
They also
the powder keg.
More often than not, they didn't use armored troopers. They used those almost like ground Death Star. What we know as Death Star troopers.
Right.
They kind of use those bodies more, or Imperial officers.
Right. Well, and it started as
the
kind of the police, the paramilitary police force, the independent police force.
Right, and that wasn't technically Empire
it
run.
No,
it was like independent contractor. Right. That's what Cyril was a part of, and we got that. The great guy who is still alive there at the end, he helped Cyril get back to Ferrix.
Yes.
He's got that great accent. And he dropped the S word, which we had never heard in Star Wars before.
That's right.
There had been rumors, this was on Rebel Force Radio, that we were going to hear the S word, worse than F. It was going to be take it to a whole nother level. We didn't get that. Supposedly someone was going to say F the Empire.
No, but ended up being fight the Empire.
Fight the Empire.
That might have been nixed when it went up the chain.
Maybe, especially on Disney Plus.
Well, that's what I was thinking when they were talking about it. I was like, and I understand that this is an adult, skewed Star Wars story, but
there's still going to be kids that has the Star Wars on it. You're going to watch it.
You're going to watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's.
Is it necessary?
Again, if it's necessary,
fight the Empire makes more sense in the context, right?
It's whatever. I mean, I'm not. I don't care if people swear, but I just also think like at that point you're putting it in just to put it in.
Right. Yeah. You
the other stuff like talking about like using the B word. To talk about Imperial officers and stuff like that makes sense in the context of the show, but like I don't think you need, to keep escalating it to just for shock factor.
So this whole
make it adult.
Right.
This whole show ended up being mostly, I don't want to see created, but
geared towards.
No, I'm talking about Tony Gilroy.
Okay.
Because he was brought in. That's
right.
I don't believe originally his show. It ended up becoming his show. He's the writer for, I think, every episode or almost every episode. He directed a bunch of the episodes, and he's the guy that was brought in to rework Rogue One after the disagreements with Gareth Edwards. Now, Gareth played ball with Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm, whereas some of the other directors wouldn't. So Tony came in and reworked it. What Gareth delivered to Lucasfilm, supposedly, rumor has it, was something more akin to this.
Okay.
And that's not what they wanted. They wanted something a little bit more
cinematic.
And not as adult. They needed it to be a little bit more...
family friendly.
Yeah.
But I think one of the other things that they weren't happy about, or they needed to happen and hadn't, was not everyone perished like they thought needed to have. Tony pretty much came in and was like, they all need to die. And they let Tony rework it the way he wanted to, while also toning it down. I feel like they told him for this show to go and do Tony Gilroy's Star Wars. And the one, my love-hate relationship with Tony Gilroy is, I love him for giving me Rogue One because I love that movie. But he is almost like an anti-Star Wars guy. He either didn't watch Star Wars or didn't like Star Wars.
Which is why this doesn't always feel like Star Wars, right?
But exactly. And I feel like that's something that we needed in Star Wars, was to not always be hit
Somebody
over the
who's
head
not drinking
things.
the Kool-Aid all the time to come in.
And also to not, you talked about the characters and the look and feel. I like that you can still tell it's in the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely.
But it's not the prequels. And I love the prequels. I have nothing against the prequels. But it's so different.
It's not bubblegum pop Star Wars.
Right. For this time period and this story they're trying to tell, this is the perfect way to do it. Because you need to feel that tension, and it needs to be dark
Personal,
and gritty.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to feel beaten down.
Not every part of this story is the flashbang, big battle, illustrious Jedi show up. A lot of the rebellion is people in the trenches,
Your average Joe.
Your average Joe having back channel conversations, going through an art gallery. Things take months to play out. Like it's talking. It's the politicking, the back channeling, and that stuff is. We didn't get a lot of that to date, right? And this is the medium through which you can tell those stories, and it's great.
It's great for us, right?
Yeah.
Because we like that stuff,
Right,
and we're
right.
embedded into the lore. I kept saying to you guys, I don't think 11-year-old Brent would really.
Right,
be in
no,
love
I'm with you on
my
that.
friends tried to watch it with his son, who's like 8 or 9, and he is not interested.
Yeah, I can imagine trying to watch this with Natalie and Haley. They're not going to latch on. They're still very much in love with animated stuff. They've moved more into live action, but more sitcom type. I don't think a serious thing. This would not be interesting to them at all.
Yeah.
So in the future, maybe. But right now, definitely not.
Well,
I feel like you need to be a teenager or an adult to enjoy this.
Yeah, that's just why we're hearing a lot of people online going, "This is the best Star Wars," because those are the people that have an online presence, not like 8-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds that do that. So you're hearing all this like, "Oh, fans love it," which is true. But what kind
fans?
of fans?
Fans
The
online,
adult fans,
right?
the fans that have it.
Well, and I know there's people that are like, well, you can't. Star Wars was meant for kids. I completely agree, but it doesn't mean you can't have adult-oriented versions of it, especially when you're churning out 3 or 4 new series each year.
Right. Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
Kids don't have to watch it. Kids
Stuff
can watch
doesn't
the
have
Tales
to be
of the
for
Jedi,
everyone.
Right.
Like I said, I haven't watched Visions. It's mostly because that's not my thing. Like I'm not into that type of manga or animation. Will I watch it? Probably eventually.
Yeah.
But I didn't dive into it because I was just like,
Not as
that's not for me.
interesting.
You know what? That's okay.
Yeah. When they're coming out with 5 or 6 different properties or whatever a year,
Right. Exactly.
You can find something you like.
you can pick and choose what you
But
like.
I hate when these big giant companies, these corporations, hear from a vocal minority or a subset of group to be like, well, we didn't enjoy that. Well, okay. Well, we put out other stuff you did like, and we're gonna keep putting out stuff you do like.
100%.
So we missed you on this, but we have you in all this other things. There's other people that haven't watched any Star Wars that jumped into this and were like, wow, is this Star Wars? That was fun.
Yeah, right.
That was exciting. I liked that.
I like that.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have. You don't have to always make something that's likable for the ages of 2 to 92.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay to focus on a group that's
You can still serve 2 to 92, and they each get their own thing.
right.
Yep.
Is it great to have Star Wars that does serve all that? Absolutely. And I feel like that's where the films need to be. But when you're doing these Disney Plus streaming shows, do genre and age group hopping.
Yeah, but
I think that's okay.
And if everything was the same, you had people complaining that everything was the same.
Right.
We got a drama. We got a Star Wars drama.
Political
series.
drama, like
Yeah.
like West Wing
espionage.
meets Game of Thrones meets. Yeah. It was.
And if you don't, and if you're not a person that likes this like drama or like stuff like that, don't watch it, right?
Right.
And if you're into like action adventure, put on the Han Solo movie.
Right.
That's a lot of action.
No, it's just because of the advent of social media over the last 15 years, we've gotten into this, echo chambers and people voicing their opinion when it's okay. Like it's okay
people doing podcasts and talking to them.
It's okay if something happens that you didn't like and that other people like. Why do you want to rain on their parade?
Yeah,
right.
I never
understand
understand that.
Yeah, it's like I really like seafood. There's a lot of people that don't like seafood, but
there's a lot of other options.
And if somebody doesn't like seafood, I'm just like, well, we can't be friends. Right. It's like just because I like that doesn't. Yeah.
I tried to end our relationship when you guys said you liked The Last Jedi, but you still coming around.
We can't ruin a almost 40-year relationship with one movie.
Yeah.
But have a couple other characters from Andor. We didn't talk much about Cassian, but I feel like we know what everyone that's watched the show knows what's happening with Cassian. We get sort of a change at the end because he's there's the what is the Star Wars or storytelling trope, what is that called, where you resist the call you resist the call to fight. Luke goes through it, Rey goes through it. I cannot off the top of my head remember what that is called.
Sure. No, I know what you mean.
It's literally myth, like how you build myths and stories, and now I can't remember it. But so at the very end,
Hero's
Andor,
journey, you mean?
the hero's journey.
You resist the call.
Andor basically tells him, kill me or or teach me, like
Yeah.
take me along. I want to fight,
Like,
and that's
yeah.
where the series abruptly,
Yeah.
like every
I don't know.
episode always
Do you think
abruptly.
He,
Well,
think he
he-
kills him? How do you think it?
yeah.
Well, he waits to do it with the Death Star 5 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that he helped to
That
build.
he helped build.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But that's I forgot what I was gonna say now. I was gonna say something about.
Cassian and the
Oh
heroes.
yeah,
think
so like
resisting
it was him going through all that those issues in that jail to have to realize that, to really kind of see, I think, the Empire for what it truly was. I think he had to go through that struggle on his own, and also be around those other people that were also probably there, not under, that didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I
know?
think like some of the other characters too, he's supposed to be sort of politically agnostic. I'm here for the highest bidder. You have that character in the new trilogy who's sort of I forget. It was in Last Jedi. He was in Last Jedi.
You're talking about
the guy who sort of tries to
Yeah.
double
Benicio
cross.
del Toro.
Yeah.
DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Basically
always have
like
the
the bounty hunter
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
The
guy.
characters who are supposed to be above it all, and you could see it in Mandalorian, and I'm here for the highest bidder. I don't have a political affiliation. Andor's different in that he's not there for the highest bidder, but he fights on the side of what he thinks is just and right, and like he's not wedded to any particular side just because it's a side. He fights against injustice, and so he has to be convinced that joining something is worth it. It's for the right reasons,
Yeah,
right?
Right. And him going through, that's my point, him going through that stuff in the jail.
Right.
He's completely on the side of, okay, we need to destroy the Empire.
Mhm,
They're the bad guys. I'm convinced.
Yeah, I'm
They're the
convinced they're
bad
bad
guys,
guys. Right.
So
So Cassian didn't seem to be anyone's favorite in this series. I'm not just talking us. I'm just saying in general.
Well, he's a returning character, and it was great to have him back. But there's so many new people they introduced that.
Right.
Well, and I hear is the guy who's saying Mothma was probably his favorite character. But you know what I mean. Like, there's so many new angles that they introduced that it's hard to call.
I thought that Deidre was a very interesting character too, because she had you learn to kind of sympathize with her or empathize, I guess, with her as an Imperial, right?
Yes.
You get emotionally attached to it because she's fighting her own fight against her peers, and trying to, she's relatable, I guess, more so than anything.
Because she's got her idea of what their job is and what their role is, and nobody else seems to get it in her mind. Nobody else seems to see it, and that's because they're more concerned about the Emperor and his whims than they are about carrying out this thing that's bigger than all of them.
Right.
She believes in the Empire.
Right.
I don't know how much she believes in the Emperor, but she believes in the
And
Empire.
she's trying to protect it.
And she's trying to protect
She sees
it.
the issues that are coming up here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like he said, there's two, as Andor put it, they're too fat and satisfied to see that this is brewing, but she
Right.
does.
She does.
Right?
She gets
does
it.
think
Right.
it's
Right.
brewing.
Yep.
Besides Mon Mothma, Bix Caleen, and Deidre Mira, we get 3 more women who play a big role in this series.
First lesbian relationship,
Yeah,
maybe? Do you think in the Star Wars?
So Cinta and Vel.
Yeah. What do you
Um,
think? I mean, seemed like that's what they were.
100%.
Oh,
yeah,
100%,
It's
yeah.
been
It's been confirmed.
confirmed. Yeah.
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 It was. It wasn't completely. I mean,
How
I
did
feel
he
like it
put
was
it?
pretty
They-
obvious.
I mean, they seem to-
They
yeah, I
share a
mean-
blanket. Isn't that what they said?
Yeah, but they don't. At first, they don't say who it is.
Right.
They don't
But
say.
then they kind of allude to it.
They kind of allude to it, but then as the series goes on, I was like, "Oh, this is groundbreaking Star Wars here." Like,
Yeah.
yep,
Pretty much.
awesome.
We saw.
And Cinta was. I love Cinta, by the way, as a character. Like, she was awesome.
We saw it
She
in
was
Rise of
Moth-
Skywalker.
Mothma's cousin. Was that the one? Is it Cinta?
Vel is Mothma's cousin. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
And
Couldn't keep the name
no,
straight.
Yeah.
Cinta is
Yeah.
her partner.
There's our partner.
Yeah, gotcha.
She's the
The
one,
one who doesn't
that
talk
darker
much.
skin
she,
one, right?
right,
Yeah,
and she is in the shadow. She's working as like a barkeeper or kind of just a new Ferrex villager, and she can eagle eye the Imperial spy quickly,
Right,
immediately,
yes.
and she eventually gives him his comeuppance
Ooh,
with
yeah.
a knife to the heart.
Yeah,
That's
that
right.
was.
Ah.
And then that was just a brutal part where Vel's like, "What's wrong? You're bleeding." She's like, "Oh, it's not mine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Forgot about that.
Vel played a big role at the first half of the series with the Aldani raid. She was the ringleader there. She's the one that was in contact with Luthen. So she had a big role there, and then we find out that she is Mon Mothma's cousin, right? They weren't sisters, right? They
They're
were
cousins.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and they're both Vel and Cinta still alive,
Still
most
alive,
likely
still.
back in season 2.
Yep.
It was interesting that they were essentially there to kill Andor, just like, Cyril and Mira wanted to bring him in for questioning
Yep.
or for justice for the Empire,
Yep.
whereas the people that hired him to do the rebel thing wanted to kill him because he was a loose end and could unveil Luthen and the other woman that was bringing up, Clea. People think that Clea could have a bigger role here, that she could be even possibly higher than Luthen, that she's really the ringleader in all of this.
Who's Clay again? Which one is that?
That's
She's
what
the-
looks like his assistant.
It
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah.
his
Gotcha.
assistant,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you can
And
see
she could
that
be the one.
the person who pushes back against Luthen the most is her. Like,
Right.
She's
So-
the one that can. Only person that really pushes back. So I wonder. I do. That's an interesting theory.
Well, the other theory I heard was that she is his Padawan, that they're Jedi. He's
Well,
a Jedi that left the Order, trying to hide the fact that he's a Jedi so he doesn't get killed.
So
Right.
I don't think I buy into Luthen being the Jedi. I could possibly it be unveiled that she maybe was, and that's why she's going to be play a larger role. That's an interesting theory that it could be Jedi. I feel like if you were in hiding, you wouldn't hang out on Coruscant though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
right.
feel
Well, he
like
also
Ruff-
wears like the makeup, and he wears that.
he has
a
the
disguise.
disguise.
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, we touched on all the significant characters that made it all the way through by and large. Again, really well acted. All the casting for this series was phenomenal.
Yep.
And
Mostly people I've never heard of before.
right, you get Diego Luna, who we knew from Rogue One, and
Yeah.
Genevieve O'Reilly, who we knew from Rogue One.
Sure.
And the cutscenes from Revenge of the Sith, but didn't know the actor of Cyril. Didn't know
Forrest Whitaker we knew.
Forrest Whitaker we knew, and obviously we've seen Skarsgård. He was probably the biggest name in all this outside of
But I
Diego
just mean like
Luna.
all those other appearances,
yeah,
like Cyril and
right,
Deidre.
Cyril,
like,
Deidre,
never heard of
Clea,
them before.
Cinta, Vel. Now I know the actor that plays Bix Colleen was in other things. I was not familiar with her.
Another one of my favorite characters was also part of the faction on Aldhani, was the kid who was writing the manifesto. When he died, I was watching it by myself and just like audibly gasped out loud when
that was a rough way to go.
Oh yeah, when the pallet hits him.
Oh
yeah.
Jeez.
But then his manifesto, you get to hear parts of his manifesto in the last episode.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Very cool.
You could tell that it was going to come back around because he made sure to give it to Cassian, and Cassian made sure to kept it and then hid it, and then got arrested. And after he broke out, came back for it, and then we finally get Nemec, right?
Nemec.
We finally get to hear what was written in there at the end, and it was very well done with the voiceover overlaying the start of the
very
uprising.
much a presage to the more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. It's very reminiscent of the rhetoric that Leia is using in Episode 4.
Right. One thing I'm interested if we see at the end of Season 2 of Andor is, do we see the Emperor or his puppets dismiss the Senate? Because they talk about it in the beginning of A New Hope, the Emperor has just dismissed the Senate. Effective immediately. The regional governors now have.
Well, you see the tail end of the Senate here, right? You see you see everybody's kind of like
it's like a puppet
sitting back and
regime,
smoking a cigarette while everything's going on. Whereas in episode, the prequels, it was very raucous. There,
Vote now. Vote now.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I was really most interested to see in this is what's the role of this? What's the role of the Senate anymore? Is it like a puppet regime? Does it have any power? Yeah, because we don't know sort of at the end of Episode 3 when the Emperor becomes the Emperor what the Senate's going to look like, what things are going to
Yeah, for sure. So overall thoughts, just wrap it up. Just a minute or two about what you think about the show going forward.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for more of it. I'm excited that there will be more of it. I was pleasantly surprised by it I was surprised by it, and then pleasantly surprised by how I was surprised by it, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't expecting what we got in terms of the tone of the show, the pacing, the focus of it, but it was exactly what I wanted, and I was surprised that they went there, and I was really glad, and I'm glad to see more, but I'm also very glad that it's all out now, so I can rewatch it again and make some connections that I know I missed or dropped between the different from weeks to week. So I'm looking forward to it.
I feel, and this just popped off the top of my head, and I'm not answering my own question. I wonder what it would be like to this be your first thing in Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
Mostly because we know what's going to happen to Cassian and what kind of role he plays.
Right.
But more importantly, because honestly, like all the other characters are new to us too, but Cassian and Mon Mothma are so important and where they go and their stories. I wonder anyone that started with this show if they felt lost at first.
To start here would be pretty rough, I would think, like that.
Yeah, for the first time you can kind of say that, right? I mean, if you watch Rogue One, it's a little easier to like if you watch Rogue One, just the first thing you ever watch, it's probably easier to understand what Star Wars is all about. You know, because there's a space battle at the end, and that's probably what they were going for. You know? But
I feel I'm just trying to think back now. Did they do enough for new people on why Mon Mothma is important? Like obviously they're building that she's part of the rebellion. I guess it doesn't matter if you know that she becomes like the lady of the rebellion, like the figurehead, the leader of the Rebel Alliance. I guess it's not important. It's so tough because of how much we know about these other characters.
Right.
It's actually one of the things I hope we get in a season 2, because kind of going off of what Bryan just said in his response. Like I hope we see, and I'm a kind of a sucker for this, but I'm hoping that we see the characters that were introduced here and how this fits into the bigger picture of what's happening. Like we're gonna see Rebels characters in live action. Are they gonna be somehow intertwined here? Are we gonna start to see how this is gonna? Are we gonna see Vader, Tarkin? Are we gonna see like how that starts to come in? The guy that was who was the Imperial guy? Grand
Yularen?
Moff. No, well, Yularen was in this, right?
Yes.
But how who's the guy from Rogue One? The guy with all the white get up.
Oh, you're talking about Krennic.
Krennic. I thought he was filmed for this. Like I thought they were.
Oh, I don't know.
He's not in it at all.
Hey, maybe
And
we'll get him
also-
in season 2.
Also,
I want to see it start to cut. I want to see these things.
All the
start
different
to come-
storylines really come
to a
together.
head. So
Right.
because it's gonna basically start at the
Well-
beginning or end at the beginning of Rogue One, is what we've been told.
So I don't know where we're gonna start in season 2. Are we gonna pick up with Luthen and Cassian, like him joining, or are we gonna have already jumped a year? Because there's supposed to be another 12 episodes in season 2,
right,
and each one of those 4 3-episode arcs is what we've heard, and each one of those covers a year.
Okay.
So this entire part, I think, was supposed to take not quite a year, but because we started 5 years before Rogue One and A New Hope, so now we're close to 4 years before that. But then in season 2, we're gonna get 4 to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and then 1 to now.
Yeah, okay.
Because the ending is supposed to be like the beginning of Rogue One. So people are wondering if we're going to see Cassian go to that planet where he ends up killing his own rebel like informant.
Right.
That's where they're thinking we're going to see Cassian go to that planet.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of Andor season 2, because they have said it will lead right into Rogue One,
just like Rogue One led right into.
So like,
episode
could
4.
we see Bodhi Rook being taken by the Partisans, defecting from the Are we going to see Rogue One characters
in see Jyn Erso in any of that? Because he, in the beginning of it, isn't she? Well, we see her backstory as a child, but don't we see? We could also see her with Saw Gerrera. She has a history with Saw Gerrera.
Yeah, but I think by now she's been abandoned by him.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the timeline is exact, because we see at the beginning of Rogue One, she's been taken in by him.
Yeah.
But he abandons her because the Empire is like on them hard, on the Partisans hard.
I would need to reread Catalyst actually, because
Catalyst would help out.
Because that starts in episode 2. The timeline is when they're
when we see flashbacks in Rogue One to that. Right,
Galen is working then on the plans for the Death Star, the theoretical plans for the Death Star in that book. Like he is working on the science behind it in episode 2.
Gotcha.
During episode 2 timeline. So that's when Krennic and he are friends. and Krennic exploits that friendship to get the plan. So it'd be great to see Krennic in the next
I think we
series.
have to.
Krennic, Tarkin, Lauren, Vader, and the Emperor in some form. Doesn't need to even be in person, but voices or holograms, just something to tie, like Brent said, tie it all together. And bringing in something from Rebels would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have Sabine coming, and
Guess I need to watch Rebels.
what's his name?
Sabine and Kanan.
No, not Kanan. We saw Kanan in. Oh, I don't want to say it.
But no.
Oh my gosh, I can't. The main character in Rebels. Why can't I
Right.
think of his name?
Never saw it.
I know I'm
Was it-
drawing a complete blank now on the
Okay.
character's name. But Sabine is supposedly going to be in the Ahsoka series, right?
Okay.
I believe there was already a casting announcement or rumors about casting for Sabine in Ahsoka, and I know this takes place that's decades down the road. But oh my gosh,
Yeah, I know.
why can I not think of his name?
Yeah, I know. Because I'm drawing a blank too.
I need to look it up because that's going to bother me.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it'd be good to see some of those. See some of those characters.
Ezra Bridger.
Ezra Bridger.
Jeez, I cannot.
Jeez, what the heck's our problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, Taylor Gray.
Could we see Ezra in season 2 of Andor, and just like a cameo, just to make a connect? I know people will be like, "That's fan service." No, we're bringing all these different
It's
aspects
universe
of the
building.
universe
Yeah.
together.
It's only fan service if it's incidental to the plot and not necessary, right?
Right.
Like I know like some people accused like the spin-off films of doing certain things like of having those things in them, and there were some that weren't kind of incidental, but others were not. They're important to the plot.
Right.
I also think we should get a little Bail Organa.
Yeah.
Because
That would-
Bail
actually,
and
that would be
Princess
really
Leia
good. Mhm.
and C-3PO R2-D2, not that they have much to do with the rebellion, but like until episode 4, but we might see that's what I'm saying. Like I think as we get closer to that time frame, we're gonna see some more. People were like, we didn't see a lot of familiar characters and things like that in this one.
Yeah.
I think we will as we get closer to that time.
Going back to what we talked about Tony Gilroy, it'll be interesting to see how willing
he is to
Yeah,
do that.
he- do that,
is
because
sort of
he's the outlier.
He is the outlier, and
Like-
he's the anti. Who does the Mandalorian? The
Filoni and
Filoni,
Favreau.
but he's like the
Filoni and
anti
Favreau.
Filoni and Favreau.
Yeah.
Like they're like
Yeah.
you sent me that meme of them dumping the toy box onto
Yeah,
the
yeah.
table. Like
It's like,
they're
all
like
right.
all in on that, and
Yeah.
he's just kind of like, I don't need any of that
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't need that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't need that.
I just need a character that's like this, and a character that's like this.
Like
and
this,
a character
right,
like this,
right.
in order to get
He
to
knows
the
all the
story.
archetypes to tell the story.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
my hope is that we keep the Gilroy tension and focus on character while weaving in
Yes,
it,
that's
a
my
la Favreau and Filoni and the Mandalorian universe.
Yep.
So that we can feel this does, because that would I think spike up viewership numbers for Andor if
Right.
you get that as connections.
Right.
Maybe season 1 was just to set the stage.
Right.
Season 2 can be that adult oriented and mature and character driven, while also bringing in parts of the other universe.
Right. Kind of like they did with Saw Gerrera. Like I think his
Right. Like they've already done it.
Right.
They've
Yeah.
already done it
Yeah.
in a good
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
But
Yep.
now bring in, it doesn't even have to be the whole Ghost crew.
Right.
It can,
right.
just
some of the rebels.
Ezra or Hera or something
Right.
like that. Just because we know that from the animated series how much of a role they played in the formation of the Rebel Alliance.
Right.
So
Yeah, exactly. So to not have them included in this kind of, this is a very in-depth look at how the rebellion has been created. Right. To not
Yeah.
include them at all would be almost kind of like, then why do we have this whole show
Right.
based on those characters if
Yeah.
they're not influential at all in this development?
well, and Saul was in Rebels.
Right.
Saul Guerrero's
Yeah, yeah.
in Rebels.
And-
Like
and
we see
Clone
an
Wars,
animated version of Saul. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The original
And
Saul
in,
Guerrero is
in Rebels, he doesn't have any of his accoutrements or breathing apparatus or
Not yet,
anything.
no.
Okay. All right.
So we have to see we see that him and is at his end in Rogue One.
Yeah, he needs to leave. He needs to lead something major in the next series. I think he didn't
Yeah.
get. He was like champing at the bit to like do something in this, and they kind of had to keep him.
Well,
I like how it played out. Honestly, I
Yeah.
really like. I mean, I thought that was cool. Like he didn't get to be the hero that he wanted to be. Like
what we were talking about, what connections need to be done to lead into Rogue One. Well, we should be able to see Saul go to Jeddah then, right? Because they're not in Jeddah in this.
Nope.
That's not Jeddah, right?
No,
Nope.
no.
So we could see a whole bunch of Jeddah stuff. And if we see Saul go to Jeddah, we could see Bathe.
Right.
We could see, you
Yep.
know,
Mhm.
so there's all these
Yeah.
connections that can
Yep.
be made.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot on the table. I think it'll be well done no matter what. I think they do need to lean a little heavier into the Star Wars established characters and lore for season 2 if they want to make that smooth connection to Rogue One and A New Hope.
I
But
agree.
overall, I really enjoyed the show, even if at times it did feel a little slow, not as much action or Star Wars iconography and imagery we're used to, but overall I enjoyed it and I'm very excited for season 2. I'm glad we're getting a season 2.
Yeah.
Haven't heard anything about a Kenobi season 2 or anything like that.
I thought Kenobi was the perfect in terms of pacing, and I like 6 episodes. Each one was tight. Each one was focused. The storytelling was brisk. It was 6, right? 6 episodes. For
Yeah,
Kenobi?
it was 6, yeah.
And I feel like they almost could have even done that with Andor, or at least made it 8 or 10.
Yeah.
And they could have cinched it up a little tighter and made things move a little faster, and wouldn't have lost much, and maybe would have like squelched some of the criticisms. I didn't mind it, but I felt like if they needed to, they probably could have.
I feel like they needed to, instead of 10 weeks releasing 12 episodes, it should have been like 7 weeks releasing 12
Right.
episodes where you're releasing the arcs together.
arcs.
I think
It's
that
tough
would have
because
helped.
the whole point, like you said, Joey, is to build tension with this show. Like you need to and drawing things out and really stewing in that tension was really important for the tone that the show was trying to set. So speeding it up might not have done that, but I could see where you could have done it from a storytelling perspective and not lost much plot.
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, almost, honestly, each 3-episode arc, they did 3 like that, I think. Because I think it was 3-3-1, 3-2, right? That's how it kind of set up, 3-3-1, 3-2, something like that. Is that... Yeah, that's 12.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have an hour and a half long episode this week. We have an hour and a half long episode this week. Oh, this week, sorry, it's only a 35-minute episode. But we're telling
That's the cool stuff you can do when you're Disney and you own the platform and you own the
when
IP
you're creating it, you're producing it, you're distributing it.
Right,
Like,
because then they came out with
you get to choose what you want. That's the freedom of not having to have it be a movie, right? If it needs to be an hour and a half one week and then 30 minutes the next week to get you set up for the next one, great. I mean, that's cool. Like that, set it all up.
Well, they did that for Tales of the Jedi too. They just said, "Here's everything right at once."
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can do that. They can just.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "This is how we feel it should be viewed." If you want.
It's weird how
you
some
wanna-
things they're like, here, just binge it, or here,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna do weekly
Yeah,
release.
you're
I
right.
wish they kind of would go in between, do what we're saying. This story, we could split it up into 3 episodes, but it's better served to be watched at once. So we're gonna release it all together.
Right.
Whether you call it one almost movie event or 3 episodes at a time, it doesn't matter how you do it. But let me watch them all
Series,
together.
yeah.
It was very, and just to put a final thing on it, Andor is getting a television and other streaming service release, limited release.
Really?
They're, now, like this weekend into next week, but they're only doing the first 2 episodes.
Oh.
Not even the
my
first 3.
Gosh.
Not
Okay.
even the first 3. And like episodes 2 and 5 were the slowest of the season. It's the in between of the first arc and the second arc. The
yep.
middle of the opening arc and then the middle of the Aldani
all the
arc.
connective tissue.
Right. So like, and that's fine when you're watching them all together, which is why the first 3 episodes were fine released that way because they did them at once. But the Aldani arc, that middle episode, episode 5, people were just like, "Oh my god, it's just people sitting around and talking the entire 40 minutes." But they're not even releasing the first 3; they're doing the first 2.
That's
So they're trying to
that's
get
a miss.
people to
Yeah.
subscribe to Disney Plus to finish it. But
Okay.
I don't know that the first 2. They should have done the first 3.
Right. I think
Set up
that's-
the first 3, not the first 2. So that was weird.
That's an
but-
odd choice.
So
Yeah, that is an odd choice.
it's being shown on, I believe it's ABC, from
Okay.
like 9 to 11 or 9 to 10:30 or something like that.
Okay.
Like this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I
Then
saw
it's
that
being
thing.
released on Hulu for 2 weeks. It's all going somewhere else too, like maybe like TBS or something like that. It's
Jeez.
going 3 or 4 places, just the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
So if you don't have Disney Plus, you haven't watched Andor yet, you can see the first 2 episodes to see if it's something you'll like. But honestly, I'd say you need to know that ahead of time because the first 2 episodes aren't going to convince you. You need to see all 12.
Yeah,
You need
it's
to watch
it's
it
a
all.
great idea to do that. Do like a road show across different networks, but a poor execution of that idea.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that's one of the last decisions overseen by Chapek before he moved on. And honestly, I don't know how much of the day-to-day role he has to
who
oversee
knows?
things like that
Yeah, I don't
because
know. I'm not
he
sure.
has executives in charge of, ABC and Hulu, all of which are Disney, and Lucasfilm and Disney Plus. Like there's a whole bunch of moving parts here, but it probably one of the last things that was decided under his regime. Now that has transitioned back to Bob Iger.
Yes.
And I honestly, I don't have any wishes or changes for Disney Plus, ABC, and things like that. But I'm hoping Iger changes the parks experience back to the way
Yeah.
Well,
things were.
he could maybe say something about the $30 a year price increase that I just canceled my Disney Plus subscription over. So I mean, that I'd like to see that handled.
Well, that was all.
Differently.
It was never going to stay at what was it, like $7 or $8 a month or
yeah.
whatever.
Well, I didn't expect that, but it was kind of I don't know. That was a lot all at once, and also like those of us who paid that and were locked in and were in from the early days, can't we keep that price? Like new people, sure, if you want to get on it now, but like I don't know,
Well, I think that early bird pricing was for 3 years, and that 3 years is up.
it's up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was for end of 19 to the end of 20, end of 20 to 20, end of 21, end of 21 to end of 22.
Okay.
So this is that 3 years that you locked in at $5 a month.
Yep.
Over.
Yep. Done.
Now it's like triple that. It's
Yep.
like $12.99
We're also
or
getting
whatever.
triple the amount of content.
Yeah,
down
I mean,
there than we
I'm
were
not
before.
saying
I
it's
mean,
not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But I only watch Star Wars on there anymore.
but see,
so
with young kids,
and I'm
Disney
saying
Plus
for
is-
you, it's gold.
Yeah.
It's gold.
I mean, my
And
girls have found, I talked at the beginning of this to bring it all together, that they're still very much into animation, but they just started to dive into live action and they found the decade-old series Liv and Maddie. And they have watched that now
Oh,
like
wow.
8 times through, which they wouldn't have found without Disney
Yep.
Plus.
And that's great. I'm
and
not
then-
saying it's not worth it. I'm just saying it's not worth it to me.
Right, no, exactly. And I don't know if you guys remember from the 90s the Disney show called So Weird.
No.
No.
That was one that Kelly was very familiar with.
Okay.
But leading up to Halloween, girls got into that.
into
and
that.
we're watching
Cool.
that.
Cool.
Yeah, I like
there's
how
a
they
lot
bring the classic stuff back again, and then they also like. I'm looking forward to watching
There seems to be.
the new Willow TV show that's coming out. I rewatched.
Yeah,
Willow.
I've never seen Willow.
Yeah, it's okay. The movie's okay, but I'm interested to see what they do with it
Mm-hmm.
in the series. So.
Well, guys, I think that's about it. We've gone over an hour now talking Star Wars Andor,
Oh,
little
we were just getting
Ghostbusters.
started.
Right, yeah. I'm sure we could go another hour easily talking Andor, Ghostbusters, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We didn't even talk on toys and collecting or anything like that.
No,
so.
nope.
But I do appreciate both of you being here to do this show again.
It's always great when we can do it in the studio.
Yeah, I love doing it in person like this. So I don't know that we'll have the opportunity to do it again, Brian, before you head back down south.
but-
But maybe over the Christmas holiday we could do a remote one with you.
Yeah.
We
Really
can
good.
look into doing that. So
I'm
yeah,
there for it.
I'd
That
love
sounds
to
good.
get another show out there.
Could do Jedi Tales of the Jedi. I could watch.
Yeah, there you go.
We could do a
Talk
quick
about that.
quick episode
Yeah,
on all
and,
that whole
and
thing.
if we don't get to do it over the Christmas holiday, we'll have Bad Batch season 2, and hopefully by then, Brian, you'll have watched
Watch everything.
season 1. So
Mhm.
yeah, a whole bunch of stuff on the
Bad Batch is
horizon,
very
Star
good.
Wars
Right,
wise, and
right.
maybe eventually we'll get some Ghostbusters news about a release date or casting or whatever for
That would be great
Learn
too.
more.
I guess
And
GBA 2.
Indy 5. Indiana Jones.
Indiana
trailer.
Jones, yes,
I'm sure
Indiana
that'll
Jones
have
is
a
coming.
trailer.
I don't
coming.
think I've seen Crystal Skull. That was the
Yeah.
Crystal Skull's the vodka.
That was
Yeah,
15.
Crystal
No,
Skull.
He goes,
that-
"Oh, Kingdom of the
they're the same thing.
Yeah.
They're the same thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah, it's based on the same lore.
Yeah.
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just the one in Indiana Jones is much more alien-like than it
Yeah.
is a human skull.
I will watch it.
It's
Yeah.
based on the exact same like Aztec lore.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
I actually a lot of people don't like that one, but maybe I'm just because I'm not like a diehard indie fan like I am a Star Wars fan, but like
I enjoyed it. It
I
was
liked
fine.
it. Yeah, I liked it. I saw it in the theater when it,
It,
came out.
it brought
in
back
08 or whatever.
the OG love interest.
Yeah,
Miriam.
yeah.
was back, which
Yeah.
I love. Like I like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that's good. But I hope this new one's Harrison Ford talking it up like it's
Well, it takes place in like the late '60s, which
Yeah.
is crazy to be like so modern.
So they de-aging him?
no, it's the first one's take place in
Well,
the 40s.
the first
right?
one took
Oh,
place in
that's
the
right.
30s
It does.
and 40s.
Yeah,
so
it does. That's right.
We're now, so
You're right. You're
um,
right. Yeah.
I mean, so he technically should be de-aged a little bit.
Yeah,
'cause
sure,
Those movies took place from like 1938 to mid 1940s.
There
Yeah.
are rumors of some de-aging though.
Right. Well,
Well, they might be flashbacks of
Yeah,
stuff
they're
and
flashbacks. They have the technology.
they have the
to do it now.
technology.
but
and,
I believe they released some still images on one of the like variety type
They did.
Okay.
Entertainment Weekly
I
stuff.
saw about that yesterday.
Hollywood Reporter, but he was in I think 1969 New York or something like that.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
so that
Yeah, it
type
looks
of
cool.
cars
And his dad
structure.
his dad is canonical in the films, right? Or is that
Sean Connery.
yeah, Sean Connery? Is he?
So he passed away in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
He had
All right.
he had passed. So had Marcus Brody.
Okay.
But that actor had actually passed away, so they couldn't
Right,
get
they
him
couldn't
back.
get him.
I think they wanted Sean Connery to come back, but he said no.
No. Uh-huh.
So they have one scene that just says that they both died.
So, but he was in one of the movies, right? I mean,
Sean Connery?
yeah.
Yeah, he's in The Last Crusade, the
The
third
Last
one.
Crusade. That's
Yeah,
right. That's
that's
right.
Kelly's favorite.
It's been a while since
That
I've
one's
watched
up.
those.
I always say Raiders is my favorite, but
Uh-huh.
honestly, both of them. I love both of them.
There's a lot of people shouting at their devices right now because I didn't know which one.
Yeah. Well, I have all of them on DVD. I think I got them at Target like years ago, probably when Crystal Skull came out. I don't have Crystal Skull on DVD. I should get that one. But
Yeah. See, I moved mostly completely to digital for everything.
well,
Unless it's Star Wars or Ghostbusters, I don't buy the discs anymore.
It's not a lot of room.
You notice they haven't put any of those movies on Disney Plus yet. It's like one of the Lucasfilm.
Oh, really? I hadn't noticed
like,
that.
it's
Well,
like-
do they not own the distribution rights yet? The streaming rights?
I don't know that for sure. Maybe not. But I mean, it's Lucasfilm owned, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
that's
but
true.
if they had already signed an agreement for
Maybe.
distribution digitally with like
Sure.
HBO Max or
Yeah.
like the
something.
Marvel, like
Netflix.
the Netflix Marvel shows took a while to get back onto.
I always just
Disney.
thought they were waiting till the lead up of this movie, and then they're gonna put
No,
all that stuff
I
out.
think they would have had it all
Yeah,
out
I
there if
think
they
so.
own the rights.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they're getting the rights back soon because I feel like a lot of those deals are usually signed in 3 to 5 year increments, and they've known about Disney Plus now since like 2018.
Right.
So they would have stopped signing those deals,
Right.
and they should be expiring soon.
Yeah.
So with
No
Indy
Howard the
5
Duck.
coming out this summer,
Yeah.
Howard the Duck.
Howard
Uh,
the Duck.
Howard the Duck's he's canonical now. He was in the post credit scene
was,
from
yeah.
what was
Yeah.
it, Guardians or what?
One of those. I think it was
yeah.
Guardians. Yeah. One of those.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all
Okay.
right, guys.
Gotta
Well,
wrap it up
appreciate
here.
it. You stopping by to talk a little Star Wars and Andor, and we'll try to hook up again in about a month or so
Sounds good to me.
to cover a bunch
Awesome.
of topics. So, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you both have a great holiday season and early Merry Christmas. And hopefully, we'll be back again soon. So, this is the last time for you to listen to this Tangents intro and now outro because Brian and I are going to record something new for the next episode.
Nice.
So we'll
Nice.
come up with something. Haven't even.
Don't worry, it'll
established
still
it yet.
take 3 minutes to start the show, so you will still get that.
No, that is the main thing we're trying to eliminate. With
I'll
the
make
new
sure
audio.
that it takes at least 3 minutes to start the show.
No, that's
Yeah.
all. That's all on me because I used a bunch of the Joe Mays and J-Raff stuff with Kelly at the beginning.
Yeah.
Before we even got to Bryan, and then I interspersed, all those themes. We
Yeah.
got to cut it down. We're gonna
Yeah.
try to keep it under a minute this
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah.
guess.
All right. Cool.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Can't wait to talk to you guys again soon.
All right.
Yep.
Peace
And
out.
we'll see you all later.
Later.
Thanks for listening to Tangents with Friends. You can find more episodes at jmnjrradio.com. And if you do want to hear about sports, tune into the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show live every Sunday.